So this is my story of how I discovered Frappe's business model in my journey in Frappe. A little bit about me. I joined Frappe about more than a year ago with previous experience in consulting product and strategy. What made me curious about Frappe is that it builds business software. And I've grown up in a family where my father started a small business 30 years ago. And the idea of business software helping SMBs was really exciting to me. Another reason why I joined Frappe is during my first conversation, um, Rushabh had a high bar on quality of products and the bootstrapped approach to growth. And lastly, the values of freedom, excellence, and authenticity. Why else would a company have a role called dreamer on their website, which says, do you have a vision to contribute to the company? This itself gave me a lot away about what Frappe is, and I excitedly applied for the role. So, my first initial understanding of what Frappe is take one, we are ERP next. I had worked as a product manager with engineers, and engineers used to refer ERP next data models while building the product that we were building back then. But when I came to Frappe, I actually used and experienced ERP Next, and I was blown away. I felt ERP Next is awesome. Having used SAP, NetSuite, or even seen any other software products, I realized it is so user friendly, extensible, customizable. That was amazing. So in my first instance, I realized that if the product is so good, there's something about marketing which is not, which might not be up to the mark. And to help with growth, I started fixing product marketing. As you can guess, I built pitch decks. We introduced Success Pack for SMBs because SMB pricing was not very simple to understand, and we wanted a simplified pricing packs made available through partners. We even launched success stories. I didn't know we have customers as big as the Fortune companies in the India using ERP Next. I thought everyone should know, and that's how we launched success stories. And finally, we even introduced a simplified demo, like no sign up, no card. You can just go and use the product and see it for yourself. While we were doing all of this, I also had a question in mind. Why open source? If we are a for-profit company, why are we so radically open source? The investor reports that I read and people I spoke to in the business community made open source sound like just another business model. Couple of ways to make money with open source, as the investor reports suggest, are you make certain modules paid, which is called open core, which is what Odoo does, by the way. And it's almost like a freemium model where you start free, but eventually you're going to have to pay. Next came support, which Red Hat does, where you offer enterprise support services to hedge your risk when you use open source. And finally, there are companies like PostHog, Ghost, and so many others who have a community version and then a SaaS version. And SaaS is priced just like any other SaaS, right? Either per user or hefty pricing. But my idea of open source actually changed when I attended the India FOSS conference last year in Bangalore. It's a community of developers, policymakers, business people who truly believe in the power of open source. And during this talk, I came across many people, and my understanding of open source evolved. The stories that made an impact on me included the ones of passionate developers. I met a lady who, after delivering a child, couldn't go back to working in a job. But sitting at home, she was able to make great contributions to open source projects. I also spoke to other engineers who excitedly always keep talking about this is what I built, this is what, and they love putting it out there in the world. Then the stories included about partners who've grown from nothing to what they are today. I came across a talk from 6 years ago where Vivek Digambarnath from Middle East started without any huge capital requirement, and he started as a partner of ERP Next, and today he's one of our largest partners in Middle East. Then came the time when I actually met customers. While meeting customers, I realized there's so much love and gratitude for the way we've been doing business because we've not been money first. I also heard stories about enterprises who've ended large vendor lock ins and feel liberated, innovating, are able to flex and do what they want with open source. And finally, the community innovation. I was so excited to see there are 200 plus community apps already in the Frappe Cloud marketplace. And as Aditya told in one of the talks today, there are so many more which are not seen on the marketplace but are actually hosted on Frappe Cloud. This changed my outlook of open source. So my understanding of Frappe evolved as we are an open source multi-product company and growing community. But one question still was not answered. Are we a SaaS or a hosting company? And we used to have internal debates in the company where some of us believe that, hey, people come here for the apps and not the cloud. And we are an apps company versus a cloud company, which is why even you will experience that confusion when you check the free trial, because a lot of the experience is very SaaS like, where you onboard, you want to check out, pay, but then there's some confusion, right? Because after all, we make money from the hosting. So there was this phenomenon going on around that time. This chart is shown probably second time today. Can anybody guess what's the month-on-month growth rate on Frappe Cloud hosting? Any guesses? Anyone? 25, okay. 35, okay, that's a lot by the way. So we are consistently growing 7% month on month. And I had to know what's going on, right? You don't just get consistent growth on a product. And I really had to know what's really going on. So this was me and Sakib. We realized, let's go dive deep into this growth. Who is driving this growth? Who really are these people and why are they coming to the hosting platform? So this is what came out. When we dug deep into the 7% growth month on month, it was largely driven by what we call upsells, which is existing customers increasing their usage on the cloud, either because they now need more compute, or because they are using more apps, or partners are adding more customers. This is the best thing for any business to have, a repeatable business from existing customers. We also figured out some other problems like contractions and churn, which were happening because either people were downgrading, optimizing, or leaving. And we are fixing this along the way. The next phenomenon that we found was the partners are growing consistently higher than the non-partners. So all the assistance, enablement that we were giving to partners for them to grow seemed to be actually working. Along the side, I also realized, like, the product manager in me decided to speak to customers. I got myself involved in support calls, webinars, in-person meetups with partners, customers, and I realized we essentially have 4 types of customers. One, consultants, who are basically providing services to end customers, like a middle person who our partners are. Second is developers, who are similar to consultants, but they also love building apps. Then we had business owners, who are basically looking for an alternative to a Zoho or an Odoo or an SAP B1, where they are just paying off the roof. And we had enterprises who wanted to end large vendor lock-ins. What I realized is, initially their needs looked very much like, hey, we want to know more about ERP next. Can you help us with implementation, support, demos, pre-sales, and so on. But eventually, there are certain other challenges they hit once they start using ERP next. And those were all related to hosting. So when you host ERP next or any other open source app for that matter, there's always going to be challenges associated with developer productivity. It's a huge task. And since I was not a developer, this is the journey of how I discovered how difficult it is to install, upgrade, backup, debug, maintain multiple environments, build custom apps. It's just too hard. The second thing was lack of support. When you use an open source version on your own, you're going to need support eventually if you're a mid-sized or a large business, and both in terms of hosting as well as application support. And people who were not using Frappe Cloud, or people who were just using the community version, were facing these issues a lot. Then came the other challenges, where once the company grows, they are going to have growing needs and growing complexity. So, which means that there'll be scalability issues, growing users, more requirements, more functionalities, and that's where they needed help. And finally, all of this, if not done right, is going to lead to poor end user customer experience, right? So that could mean downtimes, failed backups. We've heard stories of people losing data, people being on just older versions so that they don't really have to worry about all these things. Um, and that's when I kind of knew that Frappe Cloud is meaningfully solving these problems for our customers. And around November 2023, our Frappe Cloud revenue crossed all other revenue sources. It crossed the 50% mark, and everyone started to see it too. Which means we as sales and marketing team had to upskill ourselves, because we are no more an app company, we are a cloud company. So we started to build knowledge, we started to upskill ourselves, speak with the engineers, learn how we could really start helping others understand the benefits of cloud. This is a graph of how our Frappe Cloud revenue today is. 40% being India, 24% Middle East, followed by Africa, Europe, APAC, and Americas. And this is how we decided back in November 2023 to split our sales team into these regions to focus on building the region, building the partners, and solving regional needs. And while we studied and learned more about Frappe Cloud, we could boil down the promise engine for Frappe Cloud into essentially five promises. Number one, you get support. Frappe Cloud is a way for end customers to be associated with Frappe for any issues that come, either in the application or for hosting. And that's what people really need. The second is productivity benefits, because it's so simple for you to spin a new site, create a new app. There are no complicated installation steps. Plus, it's so simple to upgrade. Like, in click a few buttons, you can upgrade. Automatic backups. There's so much that you are going to save a lot of productivity. Even a non-developer can do these things once they get to learn all of that. So you don't really need a DevOps person, or even if you do, it would just be for very large-scale deployments. Then came reliability. Aditya already spoke about how this year we reached a 99.9% uptime. That's something that Frappe Cloud delivers on. Then came scalability. Enterprises need consulting for as they scale. So as a part of Frappe Cloud premium plans, we also offer scalability consulting to customers to ensure how they can optimize resource consumption. In addition to that, Frappe Cloud itself is scalable. You can upgrade or downgrade anytime, and you're going to get paid per day. And finally, security. So today, Frappe Cloud has hosting across 10 regions, from Mumbai all the way to Jakarta, which has been recently launched. And once we started knowing more and building more conviction on Frappe Cloud, we fixed the website. We introduced enterprise plans, hybrid plans, because people still had needs why they wanted to keep their data on their own premise, on their own servers. And we also, one of the things that is also interesting is the compute-based pricing, which is usually confusing for a traditional SaaS buyer, because we don't know how compute works. But essentially, compute-based pricing can save close to 80 to 90% as compared to the per user per month licensing for any application. Take any one, Odoo, SAP B1, and that's just for ERPs, right? Same applies to other competitor apps. So basically, switching to Frappe Cloud is going to be 80 to 90% cheaper on a recurring basis. So now, coming back, I think we went over how I started out with my understanding as ERP Next, followed by how it evolved into an open source company. So now, who really are we? So basically, customers discover us through our apps, but eventually fall in love with the platform, which is the no-code, low-code Frappe framework. around which we have an ecosystem of partners, developers, customers, freelancers. And finally, we have infrastructure of a reliable, secure, and scalable hosting, which really puts the entire puzzle together. So we are a full stack technology company building open source. Today, Frappe's community has grown to 195 partners. We have a forum where people can ask questions and people can get answers, which has 24,000 active users. We have 600 plus code contributors. And I just did a quick check on LinkedIn. I just put how many people have ERP next or Frappe written in their bio, like the LinkedIn profile. And that number is 25,000 people, either working around or with ERP or Frappe products. We also have an app ecosystem. So we have a Frappe Cloud marketplace where anybody can build apps, put it out there, which has around 200 plus applications built by Frappe as well as the community. We already have 10,000 sites, close to 400 servers around in 60 countries. So today, Frappe's revenue is split into these four parts. 60% is from Frappe Cloud. We still have enterprises, and then we have trainings we give to ecosystem enterprises through Frappe School. And there's this others, which is around enabling partners, partnership fees, and so on and so forth. So next question. Now that we know the business model, how are we playing this big game? I think it boils down to three things. Our ability to do three things right. One, building world-class open source apps that kill licensed software. Number two, building the best hosting platform. And number three, enabling ecosystem growth. And me, as well as the entire business and enablement team, is completely focused on number three, which is how can we enable the ecosystem to grow? How can we help our partners, our developers to be best in their game so that they grow in their business, which essentially means we all grow. So our complete efforts are going towards enabling partners, both in their growth as well as quality. Because as we said, quality is one of the most important things. We ensure our partners are also able to practice their services with high quality. Then developers, we did an event called Frappe Build, which was one of its kind, but that's a way for us to evangelize best practices for developers as well. And then we have customers. Yeah, so are you all as excited as I am as we build the ecosystem together in the next few years? Thank you so much.